Hello, my dears. My name is Joanna, and I welcome you to the Johanna Draconis, the Deconstruction of the PTSD podcast. In this episode, we will talk about the importance of breaks. And yes, I am aware that this statement coming from me is a bit ironic, but please, hear me out. Most people think that taking a break is a waste of time. Some even call it dead time, and that it means you didn't use your time well and being inefficient. That is not an accurate assessment, and actually the opposite is pretty much true. Well, as long as it's not too extensive. This is once again helpful for all of your life. So, let us talk about it. I will be honest, I hate being unproductive. It doesn't matter if in real life or in games or anywhere. And I do struggle with it. So if I say it is important, I mean it. And I know how hard it is. I think the hardest hurdle to overcome is the notion that taking a break means you are not being productive. Because actually you are being very productive if you work before the break in whatever shape or form. The thing is, there's a wrong way to do breaks. At least the ones that are effective. The key is to drain your brain as little as possible, while keeping your body busy, like splitting wood, knitting, cooking, etc. Something that your body can do basically automatically without you having to really think about it. TV, games, etc. are maybe good for stress relief, but your brain is still fed information and won't start working. It is like the brain is a cleaning crew of a shop, venue, etc., which of course can only start working once everyone left. Another good way is meditating, but that is a topic on and of itself. So in this episode we talk about how breaks help your brain and with your PTSD. For a very long time, science believes that while we sleep, our brain would take a break and recover from the strains of the day. But then it was found out that the brain is doing the complete opposite. While we sleep, our brain goes into full working mode and deals with the things that happened over the day. So instead of taking a break, the brain is responsible for the night shift, so to say. So while the saying, we shouldn't wait for something to happen to us, but shape the fate ourselves, is absolutely true, the sayings like, if you rest, you rust, are false in the literal sense. Rest makes you progress. When you are resting, your brain space, so to speak, gets emptied and your brain uses the opportunity to deal with old stuff. This is also why flashbacks, memories popping up, etc. are more likely to occur then. These are the moments, in my experience, where the greatest progress is achieved. Of course, the brain can only work on something that is there. The brain will not just solve all the issues because it has time. You have to prepare it by reading, nibbling off the trauma, thinking about your situation, and so much more. And resting, of course, is the time where the brain stores knowledge, learns routines, process stuff, and so on. So the brain basically tries to solve the issues on its own unless it learned or was told something before that it now executes. Sometimes even on hundreds or even thousands of similar cases. So resting is more let your brain work in peace and don't disturb it time, which is of course extremely important for processing anything, not just PTSD. But breaks especially help with PTSD, as it is an overflow of your brain, and your brain basically being incapable of containing it all. Like in a movie, when all the animals by accident got sent loose by the intern, and the whole movie he tries to catch them all? That is your brain. But exactly like the intern, the strategy of containing it is bad. So it basically just runs back and forth trying to contain the chaos and failing to do so. Now, how do breaks help with the brain deal with trauma or PTSD? Well, imagine a garage. And each time your trauma causes a situation, it can't really put somewhere without the trauma being resolved. It puts it in the garage. Now, with time, those little boxes add up quite neatly, and soon you can barely move in it. Now, sooner or later, you try to do something in your garage, or brain, but it's too cramped, and you can't do it properly. That is usually when the PTSD breaks out, as figuratively a pie gets accidentally pushed over and all spills out all over the place. The brain loses the control and those weird symptoms appear in your life. So if we now give our brain a break and have started unpacking the trauma, as explained before, the brain will now start clearing up the garage. The more time and energy we give the brain for that, the better, of course. At first, it will only be able to deal with the small boxes, but once it cleared enough of those, the bigger boxes can be dealt with. That can also be fresh incoming ones that were just handed to you. But because there is now more space again, there is enough room to deal with it, without accidentally pushing over a pile again. This way, putting the trauma in its supposed place and keeping the order. As I mentioned before, I love being productive. That is why I especially enjoy it if I can cook. Usually, at the moment, only some basic recipes. But it is what it is. During cutting the vegetables, I have time to think. Especially since it takes me a lot longer than most to cut them. And as previously mentioned, this is a great time for the brain to find some really old boxes that haven't been opened yet. And some boxes that were deeply buried and couldn't be opened before. Now could be. The Nile is sadly not just a river in Egypt. Also, some things we only understand after having some distance to them. It broke my heart. Or I didn't admit before how much it broke my heart. Either way, my heart is still bleeding. It is getting better. But some things we just wish we never knew. I just want to be back to full strength now, to be able to do what I want to do. But one thing after another. As usual. That was it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it and see now the advantages of taking a break now and then. If you have any questions or feedback and the like, please let me know at contactme@johannatakonis.com. More information and transcripts you can find as usually under johannatakonis.com/podcast. And links are in the description. I hope to see you next time. Watch yourselves and have a wonderful time.